Next up on Boring Gear Reviews, we have the Nudistort plugin from Nudist Audio. Big thanks to Caleb for sending me the Nudistort. Nudist Audio is a plugin company run by Caleb Reski, and he has just come out with the Nudistort. He's calling it a distortion plugin, which it is, but it is so much deeper than that. It has a built-in delay and modulation section, and all of those together allow you to get things like ring modulation and, super warbly delay, really, really intense, like hyper aggressive distortion. You can do like droning effects. It's a really huge and deep plugin. What I love so much about it altogether is that it doesn't sound like anything I've heard before, both in the distortion and in the delay section. So we've got a lot of controls on this thing. On the distortion side, we have mix, drive, grain, and damping. We also get 4 types of distortions and then 2 modes per distortion. On the delay side, we have mix, time, abnormality, and feedback. And not only do we get multiple delay types, we can also choose whether or not we want the delay times to sync up or split and have an offset in stereo mode. Then we have 6 more controls in the advanced section. Here we can control the left-right offset of the delay, as well as the wobble or vibrato or modulation to the delay. Then we have the modulation section, which has amount and frequency, and you can kind of think of this more in terms of amplitude modulation or a tremolo effect. And then we have 2 controls under the weirdo knobs heading. And here we'll have noodle and species. And then we also have 6 global controls, which we can control everything from the gain staging to extra gain to the overall mix. It's a really deep and involved plugin, but also super kind of quick and easy to use. In the center, we have this art piece. And what's really, really awesome, and I've never seen this before, as you adjust the knobs, the art changes, the color changes, the shapes change. When you add grain, it gets more grainy. It's a very cool and fun feature that just it makes it feel like an art project. For today's demo, I'm using my 2023 Black Bobbin Jazzmaster, and this has Lollar Black Bobbin Jazzmaster pickups. From there, we'll be going into my Universal Audio Apollo X6 and using the Softube JMP 2203 amp sim. Okay, so I made 4 presets, and for this video, we're going to go through all of them. So for this first one, we're using my feedback reverb preset. And here, it's almost like a tin can, like a oil can delay with the feedback stretched out. So it's very kind of tinny, almost metallic or robotic sounding, that's acting more like a reverb and less like a delay. And then we're going to have a little bit of drive, and it just makes this super interesting sound. When I say this plugin isn't like anything I've heard before, I really mean that. The way it handles distortion, the way you can manipulate your reverb is really quite unique. And so here we get something that's super twangy. There's a bit of modulation going on. It just makes for a very kind of rich and intricate sound. So enjoy. All right, next up, we're using my C8 ring preset. So the C8 means that we're going to have like a kind of a droning high octave C note, like a C8. And then the ring is going to be for like a ring modulator. So somehow this plugin can do a really awesome ring mod sound. In the first half, we're going to have like the mod section turned up. So there's going to be like a pretty choppy tremolo. Makes for a very unique, interesting sound. And then I'm going to turn off the mod so you hear just like the more traditional ring mod sound. There's really quite a bit going on with this sound. You have this like beautiful kind of aliased, somewhat distorted sound. And then there's almost like these kind of like falling notes behind it. It's really complex, really exciting and fun to play. One thing I noticed about this plugin is, for whatever reason, it made me feel like I want to stop and like enjoy the sound of notes longer. Like I want things to ring out. I want to kind of hear how one thing blends into the other. It really made me kind of slow down in my playing. right, next up, we're using my gritty delay preset. And here we're going to have like a not super gainy, like a very low gain sound with a little bit of breakup, but most of the gain is going to be in the delay lines themselves. So I'm going to have that delay very prominent with a little bit of modulation, a little bit of grit, and it just sounds very kind of woozy, but not like seasick or anything like that. There's just a lot of movement to it. One thing I really enjoy about this plugin is it remains very punchy. Some plugins can kind of wash everything out and everything feels a little dull. That's definitely not the case here. And part of that is you can control the tone so much, and that allows you to really fine tune your EQ in a cool way. One thing that really caught my attention here was the way that the repeats kind of melt into one another. It feels very analog in that sense, even though obviously it's not. So enjoy. And last up, we are going for a massively distorted sound. Okay, so a lot of distortions are modeled after like analog pieces of gear, like tube amps and old fuzz pedals and things like that. When I said that the distortion is very different for the Nudistort, this is like a big part of what I mean. The sound I get here, I've never heard in anything. It's awesome. It's crazy aggressive, like really hyper aggressive, almost like an HM2, but with like a very kind of digital, I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's like an HM2 and like one of those like kind of bee buzzing fuzz sounds with it. The coolest thing here was like just by controlling the damping control, the EQ changed totally. So you could really find like this amazing area, and where I landed was like this very throaty, very aggressive sound. We're also going to be pairing that with the Goodhertz Megaverb for like a big pre-delay reverb. So like I said, crazy distortion. I've never heard anything like it. Enjoy. that's a wrap for the Nudistort from Nudist Audio. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I think this thing is super cool, super interesting. It doesn't sound like anything. That's not something I can say about everything. Nothing wrong with things sounding like other things, but it is rare to find a truly unique sound from a truly unique piece of gear. I love the way this thing looks. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it feels. It is a very fun and creatively engaging plugin. It is also incredibly well priced. Usually when you see things like this, at least for me, I think oh man, it's going to be a lot. That is not the case here. Very, very reasonable, very fair price. It's on sale right now. If you like making weird sounds, this is something you should have. All right, and that'll do it. If you dig the content, please consider hitting that like, subscribe, comment, share. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see and you want to learn more, click the links in the description below, and you can learn more about everything I used today. And also, we are less than 100 subscribers away from our 2,000 subscriber giveaway. So subscribe, follow me on Instagram. Don't miss out on that. And until next time, peace.